Hello, this is Mad Cat, the angry egalitarian that discusses this and that. Today is another edition of Things Feminists Say. And remember, try as you want, but you can't take someone's identity from them. They're always going to remember it. All right, and there's Twitter disappointing me again. Fuck you, Twitter. Not Twitter, YouTube. See, I'm already out of it. So yeah, as I mentioned in my last video, I'm not feeling very good today. But as someone said, if we stop, then feminism wins. That was like in Broadcasting Network. Awesome name, by the way. But yeah, if I misquote something or I say one word and that's not the word that's on the screen, I apologize. My disability is really getting to me today. So, let's go ahead and crack this thing open. Playing princess with boys at Stockholm's first gender-neutral preschool. You play with boys while pretending they're princesses? You sick fuck. What are you, friends with senior butts? I know, bad joke. Boo. Yeah, I shouldn't be doing that shit. Okay, so let's take a look at this article. Let me zoom this up for you a little bit. Don't ever say I don't do anything for you. In gender equality obsessed Sweden, Nikolai Garden, we'll just call it the Garden School. Kind of like the Garden State, which is New Jersey, which is not necessarily a good thing. Sorry to all my friends out there in New Jersey. Is a place where girls can be princes, and boys can play the beautiful princess. So what are you saying here? That princes are not beautiful? That only princesses are beautiful? I mean, you're already off to a bad start. Why can't they be handsome princesses and beautiful princesses? Why can't they both be beautiful? I mean, this is gender equality, right? Just a thought. Oh no, Kane has arrived. Kane Tepes. Which, by the way, anyone who's a fan of mine, of my writing, which I don't know how you could be, I've barely written anything. Kane Tepes has mythos in my universe. But Kane Tepes is also a friend of mine from Oblivion Entertainment. So, as a thank you to him for his support, I made him a character in my book series. Along with the narrow cobbled lane less than a minute away from the iconic Nobel Peace Prize Museum in Stockholm, I walked through the gated playground. How far away is it from that bank where they developed Stockholm Syndrome? Just wondering. Rainbow flags peek through the fence as I pushed open the door. I see young boys pushing strollers and young girls playing with tractor toys. I am a garden, a preschool for children where masculine and feminine references are taboo. Fuck you. No, just fuck you. And I could stop right now and everyone would understand what this article is about. But I'll continue because the show must go on, right? All the furniture is neutrally colored, and there are no definitively girly or boyish rooms to be seen. So what, is everything painted gray? Children are playing games that don't divide along gender lines? How is that even possible? If a child starts playing with something that's associated with their gender, they're like, no, you can't play with that. Play with this instead. And reach out for toys that spark their senses of curiosity rather than items designated for them. You know, there's a reason why items are designated along gender lines, because it's found that people of those gender want those things. A staff room poster with an illustration of a blonde boy in a pink polka dot dress captures the prevailing mood. You know, if he grows up to resent this school, he's going to have such a lawsuit on his hand. Can you do lawsuits in Switzerland or Sweden or wherever the fuck this place is? Its Swedish slogan translates to "Let everyone be who they want to be." Well, what if they want to be a boy? What if they want to be masculine? Didn't think about that, did you? Did you? Teachers are here avoid referring to one another as male or female by adopting the gender-neutral personal pronoun hen, meaning they in Swedish, as alternatives to the gender-specific han and han, she and he. So, to be more gender neutral, I'm going to start referring to the rest of you as they. How are all they doing? Since I can't refer to you as men and women anymore. Polar Bear 21. Can't gendered toys spark curiosity? That's what I'm thinking. I mean, toys that are specifically designed for women, like maybe a girl wants pink Legos. That could still spark curiosity. Maybe a boy wants blue Legos. That still sparks curiosity, right? Right? I think so. They also abandon mommy and daddy and also refer to both as parents. Now, okay, that's not a big deal. Use fire soldier instead of fireman. Aren't you being a bit ridiculous? Fire soldier. Oh, let's call the fire soldier. You know, it's so much better to just say fireman. You know, man represents its origins date back to referring to all of mankind, not just a specific gender. In the classroom, staff address individual children with their names instead of him or her and use friends to address a group of toddlers. Yeah, it sounds like you're just making your life a lot harder than it needs to be. We want to provide an environment where children can feel comfortable with whatever kind of family they are from, which is why we introduce this kind of language. No, what you're doing is babying them and teaching them that how the rest of the world works is wrong. And you're not going to prepare them for when they face that real world. It's not just about accommodating to those who might not identify as male or female, yes it is, or who wish to avoid referring to themselves as one sex or the other, yes it is. When I was growing up, I became conscious, my mother being a single parent after my father died. Here, we believe it shouldn't have to matter whether a family is made up of one parent, two parents of the same sex, or two parents of the different sexes. Genetically related, adopted, or otherwise. Yes, but see, here's the kicker. It's the differences that make a person who they are. It's the experiences they have and meeting other people that are different from themselves. Allow them to grow. You're trying to strip away anything that can identify anyone as being unique and telling them they're all the same. Lycan, what's wrong with firefighting? Also, it may be a small issue, but it just seems it takes all the emotion out of it. I call my parents mom and dad out of love. Because that is, Polar Bear, what's wrong with calling a male fighter a fireman? And Lycan says, because that is clearly sexist against any woman used as a firewoman, apparently. Or who are a firewoman, apparently. Yeah. There's really nothing wrong with it. It's just, it gets this idea that if you use man in any word, it is somehow oppressive to women. And also oppressive to men, that you're putting men into a specific gender role. So when you call them a firemen, you're basically saying that only men can be firemen. And people and children growing up can't ever figure out that they too can be a fireman. However, interesting enough, 90% of all firemen in the world are men. Now, if we just take the first world, women are capable of being firemen if they meet the same qualifications, except if you're in New York and you fail your physical requirement, you can still be a firefighter. Okay, so let's skip on through this. Gender equality is enshrined by the laws of the Swedish education system, think in part to the first national curriculum for preschools in 1998. By 2012, the Swedish government has spent basically 13.1 million US dollars on promoting equal rights in schools. The Garden Place is a tax-funded institution, is among the most radical examples of a highly egalitarian country's efforts to engineer equality between sexes. But the law did not set out exact methodologies on how to achieve this, leaving places like the Garden to figure out for themselves. See, I have a serious problem here with this. You spent 13.1 million for your schools to have equality, to have gender equality, okay? And we're talking about the span of like 16 years, and yet you didn't mandate what methodologies they had to follow. They just had to figure it out for themselves. So if we have all of these schools everywhere that are figuring it out, that means that, you know, a child from school A and a child from school B are going to have such completely different experiences. Maybe school A, no one's called by male or female, but maybe school B, everyone is called female, even if they're a boy. So when they finally get to the next level up and they interact with each other, there's going to be conflict there. If you're going to spend $13 fucking million on this, you better have some motherfucking mandates. I mean, I don't agree with this in the first place, but, you know, you're going to create a lot more problems when children start growing up in this. Polar Bear 21, which goes against the Like a Girl campaign, right? NC Clark, good to see you again. So it is finally okay to perform social experiments on kidnaps. I foresee nothing going wrong with these kids in the future. Yeah, I don't see anything going wrong with kids in the future. Yeah, let's just go ahead and experiment on them. It's all for the greater good. The greater good. I love that movie, by the way. Polar Bear, I'm curious as to see how this affects their boy reading gap. Well, you know, the thing is, Polar Bear, is that schools are designed for girls nowadays, especially in the United States, but I imagine the rest of the world as well. That they don't let boys engage in things to be boys. Hell, last week I was reading a story, I think it was Mundane Matt, who posted that they banned tag out of school. They banned the game tag. It's like one of the last games boys could run around on recess could do. They're not allowed to do it anymore. Lycan, how about instead of using gender-neutral pronouns, you learn the kid's name? Actually, they used the kid's name. In this article, they do state that they'll either use the kids' names, they'll use the kids' names instead of using like him and her. But yeah, I mean, this really just pisses me off that you're basically saying that these schools need to figure out how to solve this problem, but you're not going to give them any information on how to do that. And you're going to have such chaos through the state of Sweden that it's just going to cause a lot of confusion down the line. The staff went through the process of re-evaluating gender stereotypes by jotting them down in a circular diagram divided into 3 categories: colors, emotions, and jobs and hobbies. Well, for the boy, it's blue, green, and black for favorite colors, and for girls, it's pink, pastels, and red. Are there any girls out there that like pastels? I thought people hated pastels. Maybe it's a Swedish thing. I don't know. Boys, and this is their emotions: angry, tough, wild, strong, brave, loud. That's really a quite a bit of thing. Kind of, you have angry and wild and loud, and then you have tough, strong, and brave. That's across the spectrum right there. That's almost like the worst and best that men can be. But then girls, you have sad, caring, adorable. Is adorable an emotion? I thought that was just a state of being. And obedient. Well, sad, caring, that's kind of in the middle. Obedient, that's not even an emotion. Once again, adorable and obedient are not emotions. Do you think these people were just a tad bit biased in this? And then favorite job and activity: football, climbing, running. Versus girls: ballet, handiwork. Handiwork? Dolls, family. Yeah, I think these people were fucking biased. So then they cross out the line and said that all boys and girls can be any of these things. So they can be an obedient football, a black obedient football. Well, when I grow up, I want to be a black obedient football. Wouldn't it be nice if everyone had the right to choose what they wanted to do within this circle of opportunities? So we could so children can only choose what's inside here. Wow, that's very limiting. Rather than have to have half of those, well, boys and girls can choose those things if they want to. If a boy happens to want to like pink, he does have that chance to do it. Now, I'll be fair, growing up when I was like 8 years old, I liked the color pink until my stepfather told me boys don't like pink. And then for the next 15 years, my favorite color was black. Probably matched my mood. So, yeah, it does happen that boys are subjugated into a gender role. But that was what I'm 35 now, and that was 8 years old. So, I mean, that was nearly 30 years ago? Less than 30 years ago? Quite a bit has changed since then. Parents tend to be a little bit more open, but it does still happen. But, even if, their parents wouldn't allow it, boys can still be on the other side. We try to teach that through reading and singing exercises, for examples, the students do role play by swapping traditionally male characters with female and vice versa. Girls here read lines by a prince, and boys can play the beautiful princesses. Well, that's an interesting idea, but I mean, aren't you still propagating gender roles if you're still identifying princes and princesses? I mean, you don't like to use him and her, but prince and princesses are just fine. You don't see your own hypocrisy, do you? The aim is to give children the understanding that they have access to the same opportunities in life they already do, regardless of their gender, by teaching methods that allow each child to grow into a unique individual by stripping them of their individuality. Some critics believe that these activities and teaching methods have gone too far. Oh, yeah, they have. Even for egalitarian Sweden, excuse me. Tanja, not going to say that name, a mother and mathematician at Uppsala University who regularly attacks Sweden's gender madness on her blog. It sounds like a musical, Gender Madness. and has accused teachers of adopting this kind of approach as being gender police. She says, should I maybe take the children from their parents at birth and turn them into gender neutral indoctrination centers where none other than gender experts themselves can have contact with the children? And that may be what we have to deal with today. Several studies show that the different roles we take are genetically determined, a biological fact to benefit of thousands of years of evolution, probably for us to survive. And see, I understand the idea of letting children express themselves and not being subjugated like, boys can only like this thing and girls can only like this thing, but you're trying to strip away what is biologically innate in them. Boys will want to be risk takers. Boys need to have rigorous activities because if they don't, they're going to be disruptive in class. That's a proven fact. That is biological. But if you strip them of saying, well, no, you're not a boy, you're a human being, and we all do the same thing, but more or less cater to the female demographic, you're hurting boys. This is nothing but child abuse because you're stripping away what makes men and women what they are. Okay, so let's take a few look at the chat here. Where was I? Polar Bear 21. Everything I talk to parents, I heard that boys are more obedient than girls. Okay, well, that actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, maybe boys are a bit rambunctious, but if you give boys the activity they need, they tend to be more appreciative of it. And it looks like they're commenting on my bias remarks. Like in broadcasting, do you mean like knitting? Polar Bear. So who's the target audience of this article? It sounds like they expect the readers to have a pro-feminist viewpoint. Well, this is Vice, which tends to be a feminist publication anyways. I have a Google alert that lets me know of any articles that are for gender rights, feminism, men's rights. So that's how I happen across these things. Oh, Tanya has an interesting YouTube video. Tanya from this video, this article? I should check her out then. Let me put that name back up here. No. Taja. I don't know how well you can see. Yeah, you should be able to see that pretty fine. Sounds like she has an interesting YouTube video based on my viewers. Lycan, my overall question with this article on practice is, are they forcing children to try other roles? Are they forcing girls to be a prince in armor and the boys process in the ball gown? Sorry, princess in the ball gown. And from what it sounds like, yes. But then again, these are toddlers. You can't like have them voluntarily do this. But they're basically saying, well, now you read the part of the princess and you read the part of the prince and then act it out. Now, you might say that that is bad, but again, these are toddlers. And to get toddlers to do anything, you kind of have to push them into it. I mean, toddlers tend not to want to eat their vegetables, which is a shame because vegetables are so good. So, you kind of have to force them to do some things they don't want to do, so long as it is for their benefit. This, however, I don't think is for their benefit. Holy shit, you can put links now in the YouTube chat? I did not know that. Okay, I'm copying this right now. Notice that it says CBS at the end. So, sorry, I want to make sure that I look at this later. So, all right. Thank you for that, Polar Bear. And anyone else in chat, just take a look at that there. And I lost my place, but that's all right. Let's go on. Gabra Martin, who teaches at Igalia, an offshoot of the garden school that adopts the same strategy, says that their methods are not intended to rob anything from the children. Oh, well, other than their biological gender. But other than that, you're, adding to children. I think there might be a fear among some people that when we work with gender equal teaching, that we will rob their children of something. She says that we would take something away from a little boy, for example, which could be associated with boyishness. That could be that he wouldn't be allowed to play football or play cars, or in the same way, rob a girl from something that could be associated with girliness. That is not how it is. We do not take anything away from anyone other than their biological gender, of course. We only add. That is how we see it. Oh, I'm sure you can justify it all you want, but this is still fucking child abuse. I'm going to call it out right now. This is fucking child abuse, what you're doing. You want to teach a boy that he can play with dolls and G.I. Joes at the same time? Hey, maybe G.I. Joe needs a little R&R and wants to hook up with Barbie. I'm 100% fine with that. But don't shame him for being a fucking boy. And that is all you're fucking doing. You're saying whatever you are biologically, you cannot identify as that. That is fucking child abuse. And you should be arrested. And if this is what all of Sweden is doing, then not even the UN, but we need to start a hashtag of say ban Sweden, because this is fucking child abuse. But because you're feminist, you're going to fucking get away with it. It's important for these children to start questioning what it means to be male or female before ideas start to cement. Okay, but there's a better way of doing that. Do I still identify that they're male and female, but say that they don't have to be defined by that? Why is it that a woman who adopts a stereotypical masculine job is seen as successful more than a man who adopts a more feminine job, such as a nurse? Why should it be that women wearing blue is never questioned, whereas a guy wearing pink might give off certain assumptions? Okay, and that's a fair question to ask. But I'll tell you the way you don't do it. You don't strip people of their identity. But if girls want to play the princess and boys want to play the prince, they can do so too. That's why we like to cross out the line in the middle of it. No one should have to make a decision based on assumptions. And Polar Bear 21, which I agree with. It's no different than fundamental religious schooling. And that's all this has become, is fundamentalist religious schooling. And yes, I do honestly feel that this is child abuse. By the way, Miss Piggy has become the coolest feminist pig in America. Are you really sure about that? Are you sure Jessica Valenti is not more cool than her? Or Andrea Dworkin? Are you sure it's Miss Piggy who's become the coolest feminist pig? All right, so let's go on to the next article. Now, this article I'm just touching up on briefly for the one after that. This was done in March 5th. And this is the article I'm going to be commenting on by Jessica Valenti. I just referred to her as the coolest pig in America, coolest feminist pig. It almost seems like I knew I was going to be talking about her. So before I go into that article, it does make reference to this article, so I want to cover it just a moment to give a little bit of understanding of what the other article is about. So Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, teams up with LeBron James to get more men to lean in. So that's bullshit. In the 2 years since Lean In became a bestseller and sparked countless conversations about gender equality, author Sheryl Sandberg says she has gotten one question over and over from men. What can they do? Yeah, I'm sure that they're saying that. If they're bothering reading your book, they're probably already leaning in, as you say. All right. Now, the Facebook chief operating officer is giving them some specific answers by aligning with one of the most popular athletes on the planet, The Rock? LeBron James. Oh, man, I was hoping it was The Rock. Is encouraging men to lean in for women. Don't you think some of his 19 million Twitter followers will get the message too? That's certainly what they're hoping for. Now, Dwayne Wade of the Miami Heat says, when men lean in, everyone wins. Bullshit. Quick call out to my chat because they are still referring to the previous article. However, by drawing it out and making a line, they're enforcing those rules, then confusing the child by enforcing the opposite. Polar Bear 21. Thanks to Miss Piggy, we can now say pigs are more equal is an accurate statement. Yeah. Thank you for that, Polar Bear. Lycan, what they should do is not identify the trait as male or female and let the childs be themselves. And hey to you, Nemesis Diablo. Good to see you. Okay, so back to this article. I'm not going to focus too much on this. The significance of the message and the men who are relying is twofold, says Sandberg. To truly bring about equality at home and at work, men need to be part of the discussion. And we need to bring the discussion to when men are, she says. At a strip club? Men are often at strip clubs. I read it once. Okay, I've been to many strip clubs in my time. The conversation about equality has long existed by women, for women, in women's forums, and where they are. And that will continue. That's important. But bringing it to the center of the court. Center of the court? You mean like divorce court? Or child custody court? Oh, because you're dealing with basketball stars. You're using a euphemism that places where men are is in the basketball court. Oh, that's so brilliant. It escaped by me, I swear. Bringing men to the center of the conversation. People like LeBron James and Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors. Is Golden State Warriors a basketball team? I'll swear I don't really know anything about basketball. And Dwayne Wade saying, I'm for equality, and here's why I think could be transformative. Well, yeah, if you get any celebrity to say anything, people are going to listen. Many of the suggestions might seem like common sense to many women, such as male managers giving women credit in meetings and men sharing 50-50 in the household and childcare duties at home. For instance, research shows that boys and girls with a more involved father are healthier, mentally and physically, happier, and have stronger emotional attachment and relationship, are at a lower risk for substance abuse, and are more successful at work and home. This is actually true. What Sandberg here is saying is true. The problem is that our society has determined that men are not needed in the role of children's development. And women have the right to basically force men out of the picture, and that the most they can do is give money to it. And if they can't, they can go to jail. But women can lie. They can even say, you know what? He sexually abused our children, even if there's no proof, and get a restraining order on a man to keep him from seeing his children. Even though it has been proven that having a strong male presence in a child's life is healthy for their development. You don't see feminists ever talking about, the problems of the child custody at all. But of course, Sandberg, being the feminist that she is, decides to take it in the wrong direction. For girls, there's an extra benefit, she said, By age 14, if a girl sees her father doing childcare and housework, her concept of the array of things she can do professionally is much broader than that of girls who don't see their fathers doing household chores, she said, pointing to a study at the University of British Columbia and published in the Journal of Association for Psychological Science. I tried looking that up. I had some difficulty accessing it, so I don't know what that really says. But, that just seems like, even if there's truth to it, I mean, it still doesn't address the problem that, fathers want to be a part of their children's lives, and they're often denied that opportunity. That they have to cater to whatever their wife wants. And whatever their wife wants, they get. Is she, by extension of argument, expecting women to bring in 50% of the family income? Polar Bear 21. She doesn't really say that too much. This is only really an attack against fathers, believing that they should participate in the household chores. And it's just this assumption that men actually don't. And, I've been thinking about this. And, growing up, not so much in my household, I did see a little bit of it, but in other households that, generally, women tend to stay home. They might have a part-time job, but they come home and they cook and clean, or they're a stay-at-home mom and do those things. Men are at work all day long. They come home. They want to eat. They have to get back up in the morning to go back to work. And then the weekend rolls around, and it's men who are doing the heavy jobs around the house. Mowing the lawn, trimming the trees, working on the cars, doing all of these big jobs during the weekend that we never see women do. But, it's like, oftentimes I saw my parents go out to get groceries, and then when they came home, my mother went into the house or apartment and just sat while all the men lugged in all of the heavy groceries. So you can tell me that, it's so bad that women do all of these chores. But you know what? Most of the time, I see that men are still doing their fair share. They may not be doing the specific things that women are doing, but they are doing some of the harder jobs that women tend not to do around the house. Especially if there's something going on with the toilet. Not to say that women can't. I mean, I've seen my mother unplug a toilet once or twice in her life, actually quite often. But, like my experience growing up is not exactly on the normal side. Back to Polar Bear. But if men have to do 50-50, then the wife has to do 50-50. Basically, she's trashing stay-at-home parents, in particular women. Yeah, that's true. Going back to this article, we're almost done with this one, and then we'll get to the next one. Dads might think that they're doing all they can by telling their daughters they can be anything they want, but if mom is still doing all the cooking and cleaning, their girls aren't getting the full message. What really matters is seeing what you do. You have to walk the walk. She needs to see equality to believe it. Oh, no, she won't. Girls that still have very loving fathers still grow up to be feminists and say that all men are the problem, despite anything her father had given her. Don't tell me for 1 minute that the reason why women are fucked up in this country is that they didn't have a father show them equality. Don't you for 1 minute tell me that it's men's fault for all the radical feminists we have in this world. The problem is that society caters to them. It's not fathers dropping the ball. Maybe in some instances it is, but as a whole, no, that's not the problem. Another huge goal, Sandberg says, is showing men that they won't lose out in the workplace when there is more equality in executive suites and in the boardrooms. See, this is another problem I have. And her being the COO of Facebook, it makes a little bit of sense. But you know what? These feminists, they want to go to the top of an organization and only look at the top. And it's like, where are all the women? Well, how about you start from the bottom and look up? I mean, even if you started at the top and look down, at least I could give you that. But you're not even looking down. You're only staying at the top, looking at the top and saying, where the fuck are the women at? Try going to the bottom. Because I'll tell you something. I've seen a lot of women at the bottom rung of a company get promoted up faster and more often than men. For some reason, people tend to prefer women in leadership roles. Yeah, maybe that's not upper management. Maybe that's a step above men, one or two steps above men, but it still happens. Try looking at the bottom. Maybe you should try, sacrificing your position at Facebook and go out in the real world and try to work a menial job. And then you will see the difference. So, yeah, the rest of this article is pretty much bullshit. If you want to check it out, you can. But like I said, it's a bit on the old side. Now, let's go to the most famous feminist pig of all, Jessica Valenti. I really didn't mean to pull up that Miss Piggy article. I just happened to see it when I was scrolling down. But, okay, so in the original national conversation about work-life balance and domestic parity between men and women, there's a phrase that's not quite as popular as having it all or leaning in, but is important just the same. That it's not just a woman's issue. Sheryl Sandberg has encouraged men to get involved in advocating for women's equality at home and at work. Academics have pointed out that men's participation is necessary for real change, and earlier this year, in his State of the Union address, President Obama said, "It's time we stop treating childcare as a side issue or a woman's issue and treat it like a national economic priority that is for all of us." Okay, how about we fix the reforms of child custody? Started off as a 50-50 equal, oh God, I can't think of the word, but equal custody instead of just favoring women. If childcare is so important, then let's reform the child custody issues. It's true, childcare, housework, balancing work and home life, there are issues that men absolutely need to care about and take action on, but not just because it benefits them to, or to do so as a favor to help women out. Men need to get off the bench and do something because gender domestic disparity is a problem they created. It's only fair that men fix it. Oh, sorry, I should have warned everyone I was going to do something for Jessica Valenti. Apparently, I've triggered Polar Bear and Nemesis Diablo. Oh, no, he was just saying that Jessica Valenti gives you PTSD. So I won't comment on this just right now. Let me go ahead and continue reading through this. This isn't to say that men have not gotten involved, haven't gotten involved. Many have. But we need more than men's grudging participation. We need them to take an active responsibility in the workplace, where they can do more to fight for equal pay and against discrimination, but also in the home. So yeah, maybe it's time we weren't so polite about this particular battle, this kind of charge that these problems require. Lasting change that's both systematic and personal, requires more than men's support. Women didn't choose to make less money. Bias does that, other than she chose her career. Women didn't choose to be the default caregiver. Socialization does that. Women didn't create this problem. Men did. Fuck you, you fucking whore! How dare you say that? mean, I know it's Jessica Valenti. Of course she's going to say that. And I fucking hope you are listening to this, Jessica Valenti. You are a fucking warmonger. All you want is a war between men and women, and you want to make sure that women win. You don't care about equality. You care about being on the top of the world. Well, I've got news for you. This gender parity that you claim to be talking about wasn't created by men, and it wasn't created by women. It's created by society. Men were always expected to put their lives on the line for their family. While, yes, in history, we have seen women coal miners, if you look at the entire span of American history, European history, what dangerous jobs were being performed by what gender? It was mostly men. It was 99% of men working in coal mines, working in steel mills, doing dangerous jobs that greatly affected their health, while women were at home raising the children. Now, since World War II, that started to change, and women could start being in the job market. And maybe, yes, it took a little bit of time for it to change over, that if a woman was going to work, then men and women share the household responsibilities. But even as I said, men tend to perform some of the more major household responsibilities, like fixing a leaking roof, repaving the driveway, doing maintenance around the house. Because I often don't see women doing maintenance around the house. So maybe it's not 100% fair, but at least in that situation, work is getting done around the house. But even then, I don't think it's as bad as you say it is. I think you're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. You're believing that these things are true just so you can have an article on some news website somewhere, so you can still be relevant. You can still be important. Well, you're not. You're a joke. And in 50 years from now, the only thing that people will think of when they think of Jessica fucking Valenti is, ha 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 ha. Oh, that's a good one. Ooh, I needed that laugh. So, let's take a look at my chat before we go through the comments of this thing. Polar Bear, second wave feminism. Chivalry is sexist. Third wave feminism. We need chivalry. Yeah, that's a good analysis. Nemesis Diablo, you got to love how feminists tell us they don't need men, or the one hand, but on the one hand, but then say they need our help. It's true. Polar Bear, to be fair, feminism did create the tender years doctrine, so some of our current social viewpoints are directly feminism's fault. Also, he for she. Polar Bear, the only intelligent reply I give to such a hypocrisy is, UPC, bruh? So, where was it? Oh, here we go. Oh, good. This is marked. Okay, so some of these remarks are actually pretty good. I'm not going to go through all 1,400 of them, as entertaining as they are. Everyone and nature created the society. You've got it pretty good, Jessica. Stop grousing. I'm not sure what grousing means offhand. And supposedly men are to blame for the fact that women gave birth, given the conclusion claim in this article that we created the problem of women earning less money. Figures from the Office of National Statistics, I don't know if that's like a government agency for like Australia or like some independent thing, showed that between the ages of 22 to 29, women earn 1.1% more than men of the same age. And between 30 to 39, women earn 0.2% more than men in the same age group, note per hour. The gap reduces and then reverses around the average age of having children. Guardian style feminists are demanding the same pay despite spending less time at work and having multiple career gaps. However, employers are being gender blind on this issue and simply basing decisions on productivity and output. Feminists can describe this as being unarguably unfair and hence slander men as sexist or even misogynist, but it is a gray area depending on their perspective of fairness. For instance, it is fair to discriminate against someone who has more experience and fewer career breaks simply because they are a man. And that's a very good point right there. You know, companies get nervous about hiring a woman, a fairly young woman, because she could have a child, end up leaving work. Especially now if, it's determined that the United States needs a national thing on paid paternity leave, which if that's the case, it should be for both men and women, not just women. But they have difficulty hiring married women because they're afraid that they might end up having children and then leave for a larger part of time, which means that that person is not doing work. Understandably, they're having a child, but look at it from the company's perspective. They want someone who's going to be in there day in and day out doing their job. That's what they're paying them for, not paying them to have a child. And you might say that that's unfair, but that's the reality of it. But feminists are demanding that that shouldn't matter. If a woman has a child, she should still be paid the same, even though she's technically not doing her job. Okay, so she has privilege, but other people, men, have more privilege than her, which she wants because she's not happy with her privilege, because she thinks she deserves more privilege, even though other people who think she should have more privilege actually have less privilege because they don't have a weekly column in an international newspaper, for example. What annoys me is that when people make sweeping statements that don't even go anywhere near to analyzing all of the facts, you can't focus on inequality between the sexes but ignore a class inequality or even deny that class is a thing. Yet The Guardian loves publishing articles like this, even if their arguments are flimsy as a first year, first semester sociology essay referencing Tumblr pages. So Polar Bear let me know that the Office of National Stats is a UK thing. Even though it's for the UK, I'm willing to bet that that information is still relevant in the United States. I do know, for instance, that single men and women fresh out of college, that women are like 12% more likely to out earn their male counterparts, so long as both are single. And these comments are quite interesting. So really, the woman has no say in the matter at all, despite birth control, despite abortion, despite the right of women to unilaterally slander maternal responsibility of a child or to surrender. In spite of all of these things, men are solely responsible for pregnancy, for failing to use a condom, or having a defective condom. So I know I marked a few of these. See if I can find them all. That won't. Okay, so let's look at the previous comment first. Yeah, so. Or you could just let adults work out their breakdown of responsibility in their relationships themselves. So Alex 13 responding, that won't work because if comments made to us are anything to go by, a lot of women do not want to relinquish their domain. As I am one who stays at home, we have had comments from women along the lines of, I would not want to give up my time with the children and that their husbands would not do it right. So he's a man that stays home with the kids, and his wife's female friends are basically saying, well, I don't want to lose time with the kids, but I don't think my husband can do it right. So, I mean, he's living proof that he does all the fucking housework, and his community of friends are basically like looking down on him for doing it. From men, it's been mostly been positive, but thinking that it is a loss. It says DOS, but I think it's supposed to be loss. Things like, how did you manage that, and so on. Older people are more sexist in their comments of things like, it's women's work. The men are saying that, or why aren't you not out working? Both. Men can't manage the home properly, though this is probably as they were raised in a far more gendered roles. That being said, it's not that hard and is fantastic being with a child growing up and discovering new things. I would see in a household with no labor saving devices, it could be a lot harder. Though, how many do not have a washing machine now in their first world? I do not expect my wife to do everything when she gets home for work, as I seem to get everything done in time. If we both went out to work, it would be different, and then time spent should be equal unless one has a part-time job. So, I mean, that's a very true point. I mean, in a household where both are working, yes, they should share it. If one has a part-time job, then one should have more responsibility at home. And if one is a stay-at-home parent while the other one works, well, guess what? That person's responsibility is to take care of the household chores, because the other person, whether male or female, is the breadwinner and is earning all of the money. Why is that complicated? I mean, yes, I understand that household chores are not that great to do. No one really wants to do them, but they have to be done. So why is the person who's earning all of the money for the home, or the majority of it, then required, on top of doing their job, to come home and do chores? Leave it to the people themselves. Don't let feminism get involved with this. I think I'm starting to lose my voice. Let's see if there's one more that I marked. I don't think that there is, but if anyone in the chat wants to say anything about this, feel free to do so. I know I do try to get to all of y'all. Here we go. Yeah. Yes, I remembered it well. It was around a campfire around 35,000 BC. We just killed a mammoth, and Ugg said, I know, let's oppress women and create a gender society where we can entrap women into a female role model. We all agreed, since football hadn't been invented yet. We always began our weekly gathering of patriarchy with a dedication to Ugg. Well, I have come from a long descended line of Ugg. I am a proud person that knows that my line created patriarchy. And all of you fuckers out there have to thank me, the descendant of Ugg, the father of patriarchy, which I know how that sounds, but I still think it sounds cool. Bow to me. Women, suck my dick, because my line created patriarchy. Man, if you want to suck my dick too, you can. I do believe in equality. Men and women and all the transgenders, you are free to suck my dick. And yeah, I do think that's going to be it for this one. Let's double check the let adults be adults. Right, a radical concept. I know, right? All right, so Jessica Valenti opened up her mouth again and caused everyone in Rwanda to kill themselves. So, I mean, I guess that's her benefit to the world, right? So, I thank everyone for joining me today. I mean, this is bullshit right here. And let people work out their own shit. Don't make it mandatory that people have to do anything, because all you're doing is creating a slave class. And Stockholm, lay your hands off the children. For crying out loud, you're abusing them. They're going to grow up confused in this world, and you can sleep better at night because you inserted your own politics into things. Ugh for president. Well, since I'm a descendant of Ugh, I gladly accept the presidential candidate role. Anyways, that does it for me. I thank everyone for coming out today. Thank you for the great chat. I always enjoy that. I enjoy reading what you say. Thank you, Nemesis Diablo. He said I had a great show. I think so. Anyways, that does it for me. Be sure to check out my new book down below. It is free for download. The next book is due out in the next month, so be sure to watch out for that. I'm sure I will talk about it a lot. Also, check out my Patreon if you like the videos I'm doing. Even $1 goes helps out a lot. $1 a month, and this is for my medical treatment, so I can try to become better and actually start working again, which would be a really great thing. Honestly, I hate being home all the time. I really do. It's so boring. That's why I do these videos, because I just get so bored. Plus, I want to talk about these issues, and I love all of y'all. So, anyways, that does it for me. This is Mad Cat signing out.